Hello, welcome to another episode. So summer is nearly upon us, and with that my Instagram inbox and even some comments on my YouTube and my emails have been filling up with questions about what summer is like here in Italy. So in today's video I'm doing a little bit of a Q&A. So if you're thinking of visiting Italy this summer, maybe I'll be answering your question in this video. Let's get into it. So the first question, the first burning question that is on everybody's lips at the moment is quite simply, what are the COVID restrictions currently here in Italy? Now, if you see me looking down, it's because I've got my laptop here because I have a lot of information to share with you. So as of the 1st of May, some of our restrictions here have changed. Notably, if you are entering Italy from either an EU or non-EU country, you no longer need a passenger locator form. That's the first big change that took effect from the 1st of May. The second is that until the 31st of May at least, you will still need to show a certificate of vaccination, a certificate of recovery, or a negative COVID test result in order to be able to enter Italy. Now, these certificates are accepted in either Italian, English, French, Spanish, or German languages. If you are from a country where those languages are not spoken, then you can get it translated into Italian and have like an authorized sworn translation. That's okay. But they essentially are the main languages that are accepted currently. I will put a link below in the show notes to the official government website, which tells you what vaccinations Italy recognises and also the time requirements. If you've only had 2 doses of the vaccine, at what point your second dose technically expires. So I will put the link below in the show notes to that. If you arrive in Italy without any of these certificates, then you will have to undergo a 5-day quarantine period, and at the end of that you will have to have a COVID test in order to be able to leave isolation. So that is currently the entry requirements into Italy as of today's date, which is May the 5th. Masks, FFP2 masks, are still required on all forms of public transport, including planes, trains, buses, boats, also at large events, both outdoors and indoors. And they are also recommended as well for indoor spaces. So for example, at the moment a lot of people are still wearing their masks inside shops, for example, and when there are large crowds of people, some people feel more comfortable wearing a mask in those situations. Always good to just keep updated with that, because particularly in our region, Campania, which encompasses Naples and the Amalfi coast, very popular tourist destinations, as well as Salerno itself, our region's president is very strict and often wants to add extra restrictions in place. So it's always very good to just keep an eye on that to understand what is happening and what the latest developments are. So let's talk about the Green Pass then, because this was one of the biggest changes that happened as of the 1st of May. So the Green Pass, which technically is your vaccination certificate, is no longer needed for the majority of activities here in Italy. So it means you can freely go into restaurants, bars, cinemas, theatres without the need to have a Green Pass. However, I really hope that you will never need to experience these places on your holiday, but you still need the Green Pass to access the inpatient wards of hospitals and also nursing homes. So technically, I touch every piece of wood available because that's what we do for the superstitions in the UK. You will not need to be visiting those places, but they are the only 2 places where your Green Pass is still necessary. So let's move on to the second question, shall we? Okay, so the next question that I was asked was, what handbag essentials do you need in Italy? Or, you know, it could be backpack essentials, delete as appropriate. The first I would suggest is definitely some form of translate app that you can download onto your phone. In fact, I highly recommend Yandex, which is the translate app that I use. It's advert free, it's completely free to download, and you are able to not only translate text that you input yourself into the app, but also you can point your camera at text on a poster or on a menu, or even translate websites, and you can do that translation very easily, and for that I think it's a fabulous app to use. But also you could invest in like a visual dictionary, something like this. This is fairly small and easy to carry around, or you have like slightly larger ones as well, but these are really useful, especially if you want to pick up some phrases, if you want to be able to communicate, if you need to know the name of something fairly quickly, and you don't necessarily want to have an app on your phone, then I highly recommend that you take one of those with you. This is very good, especially if you're traveling by yourself as well and you want to be able to communicate, especially if it's like an urgent situation, for example. Now, the second thing that I recommend that you carry around with you is this mosquito repellent. The mosquitoes, or zanzaras as they are known here in Italy, are something else entirely. Consider when I first moved here, I was literally like the mother of all feasts for the mosquitoes, and I was literally, my skin was just a rash of mosquito bites. So I highly recommend that you invest in this. The mosquitoes here are lethal. They will literally bite you at every single opportunity, so this is definitely something that you need. So sun cream and a hat kind of goes without saying, but the fact that I feel the need to record it in this video means that I have seen many tourists come here and end up with severe sunburn and even sunstroke. The sun here in Italy is intense. Obviously, you know, you have the hotter parts of the day, like mainly between midday and 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but it's next level intensity. Consider when I first moved here from the UK, I was used to the UK sun, which, you know, you can sit out for a few hours and, you know, it takes a little bit of time to get a bit of colour on your skin, but also to get burnt. Whereas here in Italy, I would go to the beach when I first moved here and I would spend maybe an hour on the beach and I was like red raw. So it happens very quickly here. The sun is very intense. So I cannot recommend enough sun cream and a sun hat, especially if you are liable to burn. And also, I would recommend taking a fan with you. It gets very humid here, particularly in the south in the summer months, and you will find that when you're walking around, it can be very, very hot. So some kind of fan, whether it's a traditional fan or it's an electric fan, is definitely something you'll be thankful for and grateful that you have taken with you. So yes, definitely something to consider. Okay, my next question, what do you need to know about going to the beach here in Italy? Quite a lot actually. In fact, I've recorded a video all about it. I'll put the link up here. But in a nutshell, the one thing you need to know is that it gets busy. August especially is the month where Italians have their national holiday. And so for this reason, beaches are filled up a lot in August, particularly over the Ferragosto period, which is like mid to late August, which is when most Italians will have their 2-week summer holiday for the year. Also, another thing to note is that schools finish here in Italy fairly early. They tend to finish the first week or so of June if students aren't taking exams. And so for this reason, beaches tend to fill up pretty much from early June onwards with teenagers and children during the week as well. So that's something else to consider if you want to have a bit of peace and quiet on the beach. Lidos, if you don't want to go to what is known as the free beach, which are the places where you can just turn up with your beach towel and sit down and not pay anything, if you would prefer to have a bed and a little bit of luxury, then you might want to go to what's known as the Lido, or Lido in British English. But Lidos get busy. And what often happens is that Italians will have like season passes and they will basically have a bed reserved for the whole of the summer season. So pretty often you will find that a large part of the Lido is already reserved. So you need to get it up early, and probably the biggest piece of advice I can give you about going to the beach here in Italy is to treat it like a job. Literally, when I go to the beach here in Italy, I'm out of my house at 7 o'clock in the morning, because I know all too well that on Sundays, especially when the majority of Italians have a day off, the beaches get rammed very, very early on in the day, and if you are going to a free beach and you haven't got your towel on the beach by a certain time, you're going to struggle to find space. So I definitely recommend that you treat it as if you're going to work for the day, but of course you have the luxury of sitting on the beach and swimming in the sea instead, which, you know, I think is far nicer. But yes, you need to wake up early, and especially with Lidos too, because often will operate on a first come first served basis. Especially this is how a lot of them have started to operate following the COVID pandemic. So you can't necessarily reserve a bed on a day-by-day basis like you once could. Some Lidos now will only sell you the bed in presence on the day at that moment. So just some things to consider. You definitely need to prepare yourself for that. And another thing to consider is not to eat a heavy lunch if you are at the beach and you plan on going back into the sea in the afternoon. Now, I remember reading in the local news actually last year of a tourist who actually came over bad in the sea here, somewhere along the Salerno coast, after having a heavy lunch. So just be really careful. Like, Italians will typically eat light for lunch if they're at the beach, like a panini or something similar. Save your heavy meal for the dinner if you're planning on having a beach day, because honestly, people can suffer if they go into the sea too soon after eating. So just something to think about. Okay, so my next question was actually one I received on an Instagram DM just the other day, and it is this. If you are staying in Salerno, but you want to explore the Amalfi coast and other parts of Italy with literally no Italian, what would I recommend? Now, the first thing is obviously to download some form of translate app. As I mentioned before, Yandex is fantastic, or invest in a visual dictionary to help you with any translations that you need to do. The second thing that I would recommend is that If you're going to explore other parts of Italy from Salerno, do so by train. Salerno is a fantastic train station in terms of trains covering the majority of Italy, from Milan down to Sicily, to Rome, to Calabria. There are many parts of Italy that are covered from direct trains from Salerno. So I really do recommend that you use the train network to explore other parts of Italy, only because the buses can be a little bit confusing. Often they operate to some very strange timetables here, and also consider that the timetables themselves can be very difficult and complicated to decipher. They often have special letters and codes to decipher holidays and festival days, and the times are different at certain periods in the day. It's all a bit of a confusing mess, and if your Italian is not very good, you don't want to risk ending up being stranded somewhere because you don't understand what time the last bus was back to Salerno. So I recommend the train to explore different parts of Italy, and also you have the beautiful views as well that you can see, so it's like a win-win. Some other good aspects of taking the train to explore other parts of Italy are that the ticket machines in the train stations can actually be translated into English. So there's a button where you can change the language from Italian to English, so you can book your ticket with no problem, fully understanding what you're doing. I would recommend the train, and also you can access Train Italia's website and be able to see real-time information on the timetables as well, which is really clear and obvious to read. And again, you can use either the Yandex app, or if you have an iPhone, you can translate directly from your phone the website into English, so you can understand what you're looking at. Now, in terms of exploring the Amalfi from Salerno, I actually recommend taking the boat. I did this for the first time last year when I went to Positano. I'm going to put the link up here. But honestly, it's one of the most breathtaking views that you will ever experience of the Amalfi, and it's just a really relaxing experience. Now, of course, you could hire a boat privately, but if you are just traveling by yourself and you're not in a large group of people, this is quite costly. So I recommend using the local boat company. Travelmar is the name of it, and they are the main boat operator from Salerno along the Amalfi coast. They cover all the Amalfi towns, from Positano to Maiori to Minori to Amalfi itself, Vietri, Chitara, along that whole coastline. And honestly, it is a really beautiful experience, and you can sit on the open deck at the top and just have the most panoramic view of the Amalfi coast. It's lovely, and it's not too far either. Like, it's maybe 40 minutes to Maiori, and then Positano is just beyond that. That's the furthest Amalfi town from Salerno, but it's a lot simpler to take the boat to Positano especially than it is to take the bus, because the bus you have to change at Amalfi, and again, as I've mentioned before, buses here can be complicated, especially if you have to make multiple changes. So I recommend using the boat if you are going to Amalfi. I think you'll have a much better experience. However, having said that, if you do want to experience the iconic Amalfi Drive and you have the stomach for it, because there are lots of twists and turns, can be a bit too much for some people, then you can take the bus. CETA is the main bus network that cover the Amalfi coast. You can get the bus from outside the train station in Salerno. Be aware, it does get very busy. A lot of people do take the bus to the Amalfi, and you can buy tickets for the bus from the tobacco shop or newsagents. One big point for both the train and the bus: don't forget to validate your tickets. This is a huge point that I want to make, because it doesn't exist in the UK. You don't need to validate your ticket to enter a train or a bus, but here you do. You will find machines on the bus which you insert your ticket into, and it stamps it, because when you buy the tickets here, especially for the bus, they don't come with a date on them, so you could buy a few of them in advance and you can use them at different times in the future. So the date stamp is the only way that really shows that you have used that ticket on that day. So yes, don't forget to validate your ticket, and the same goes with train tickets as well. If you do not buy them online, then you need to validate them. The same goes for the machines. They're in the foyers normally, or on the platforms of the train stations. Just something to consider, because ticket inspectors can give you a fine if they find that you don't have your ticket validated. So yes, don't say I didn't warn you. Okay, my next question was actually an email that I received, which I'm only just responding to now, so I'm really sorry. Oh my goodness. Terrible I am. Okay, so this email was basically from a person whose cruise ship is docking in Salerno for a couple of hours this month, and they wanted to know what I would recommend they could do in Salerno during that time. So a couple of things that I would recommend is to obviously take a stroll around Piazza della Libertà. This is very close to where your cruise ship will dock, and it offers the most incredible panoramic view of Salerno. Lots of amazing photo opportunities there, and it's one of the biggest piazzas as well, I think in Europe actually, so it's definitely worth visiting. And also take a stroll on the Lungomare, Santa Teresa, the little beach that we have there. Have a little walk along there. It's very picturesque, and depending on when you come, beautiful flowers, and it's just a really, really lovely walk. Have a pizza. Of course, you have to try pizza here in Salerno. Two good pizzerias that I like to go to: Michele's, which is in Piazza Portanova. This is actually a chain pizzeria, but it's an original restaurant opened in Naples, and it's very, very famous for pizza, and it's wonderful, really, really delicious. You don't have a lot of variety. It's mainly just margherita, maybe one or two other types, but you don't need variety. The margherita blows you away. It's absolutely incredible. If you do want to try some different pizzas, then Crisciamuno, which is near the Duomo, is another one of my favourite pizzerias, and you have some amazing pizza combinations at this restaurant, and it's really lovely, really scenic as well. You're in the middle of the historical centre there, so lots of lovely photo opportunities. Visit the historical centre. That's another place I would spend some time wandering around the little streets, browsing through the shops. Near the Duomo, which is like the cathedral, if you like, of Salerno, we have a lovely little leather shop with lots of handmade leather goods that they sell, a little lovely wine place that you can take some wine at. Yes, it's really lovely, and you can get some very nice pictures and photographs. I also recommend trying some gelato or ice cream. So you have Mr. Whippy's, which is in Piazza Portanova. This is very famous because they do crepes and various other sweet treats. So if you have a particularly sweet tooth, I think you'll like this place a lot. Or Bar Nettuno, which is along the Lungomare. This place is famous for its brioche, its ice cream brioches. Oh my goodness, they're amazing. And in the summer months, you will see queues of people waiting outside to have some ice cream. So yes, definitely another place for you to try. Also take a little wander to Villa Comunale, which is the city park, and you will often see turtles in the pond as well, but it's really beautifully landscaped and a very tranquil setting, and a bit of peace and quiet from the main city itself. And as I mentioned before, you can spend some time browsing the shops, but just be aware that in the afternoon especially, they will close for a couple of hours, and they tend to reopen around 4:30, 5 o'clock. So if you are here between, I don't know, 1:30 and 4:30, just understand that it's going to be a little bit quieter in the city itself because of the afternoon siesta, if you like. So they are the things that I would recommend that you do if you are visiting Salerno just for a few hours. And some other tips that I would recommend for you, just generally speaking, if you are planning to visit Italy this summer, is to make sure you always have some cash with you. Not all the very small shops or stores will have card readers, so don't get caught out. If you see something you like and you want to buy it and they don't have a card reader, you're going to be stuck. So just make sure you always have a little bit of cash with you. And also, and I cannot stress this enough, please be aware of your personal belongings. Italy does feel like a very safe country. However, it is not without problems, and there are certain parts of Italy that I would say fare better than others. So just be very aware of your belongings. I've recorded a video all about this up here, just to highlight some of the mistakes that I've seen tourists make here, because at the end of the day, you want to have an incredible experience in Italy, and you don't want to spoil it for yourself. Basically, you want to enjoy yourself and experience all that this incredible country has to offer. If I've missed any of the questions that you would like me to answer about visiting Italy this summer, please pop them below in the comments and I will respond. Subscribe if you like my channel. I always post content about Italy, life in Italy, what it's like as a Brit living in Italy, and all of the above. And I will see you in the next video. Ciao for now.